What's up, y'all? We back for another one. Love and Marriage Huntsville, season 5, episode 2, or season 14, episode 17. We ain't get no reunion. And so until I get a reunion for season 4, like Carlos and On need to figure out like how they're gonna label these seasons, but we know we halfway into, they double up. These seasons always be so long with Huntsville. Anyway, it's me. I switched it up. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to start all over. I still got some tweaking to do, but I got to hit the beauty supply store first. So yeah, hair's gone back on the beginning of the I'm gonna grow my hair journey. That's neither here nor there. We're gonna get into this season of Huntsville. Before we do that, please subscribe to my channel and like the video. So over in Tennessee, we resume couples therapy. The Whitlows are on the defense because they've been called out, which, boy, I mean, Lewis, he tight, he real tight because the perfect marriage that we all knew they didn't have doesn't exist. So, Dr. Francis already told them that they was being fake and playing games, but we didn't know. Because in the first place, nobody has a perfect situation. And in the second place, nobody asked you to be critiquing their marriage. So if they ain't asked you, Lewis, then I guess it's best not to say nothing. So they get up the next day. They're having breakfast. Marcel was in the kitchen, frying up some bacon and, being domestic. Who knew? The Whitlows are the first to arrive to breakfast. He's still like acting like everything's cool. He's like, Marcel was asking him how did it feel to be in the hot seat, and he's like, it is what it is. That's the kind of answers he always gives. It's it is what it is. Life goes on, come around, go around, that kind of thing. He's very much like a poster or plaque that you find in the picture section of your local, home goods store. So Whitlow is acting like he has things all under control as usual, and Tiffany felt like she was under attack. She didn't appreciate, Dr. Francis coming for them. I don't feel like Dr. Francis came for them. Like, you might have irritated him just a little bit when you showed up at the counseling, at the therapy camp, whatever, and decided you was going, take a business call. And I don't know what type of business Tiffany does still. We into season 3, 4, 5, however they're numbering these things. This is her second season, and we still don't really know what she does. So she had to take a business call, and I feel like maybe you should have done that before you got there. You should have just handled your business and said, we will be there, but we won't be there until such time. So, because that's what our schedule allows. I think things would have, probably been a little better. I feel like Dr. Francis wouldn't have felt disrespected, but I feel like Dr. Francis is not making it as big a deal as y'all are. Y'all are the ones that are like all in your feelings. So, that's what counseling is. It's marriage counseling. So I'm assuming the doctor, therapist, what have you, will observe and listen and then analyze. Seems like that's how that will go. I've never been to marriage counseling because I am married. So, I mean, I do like Dr. Francis though, and the way he communicates. But not everybody communicates the same. Whitlow and they're both the Whitlows. Tiffany and Lewis seem to, have life all figured out, and I don't see the point in having anyone tell me anything because we got this. So Marcel's asking him, how was it? How's it going? And, Whitlow is like, well, you have to know your marriage before you come into things like this. Okay, I'll give him that. He feels like him and Tiffany are very much grounded, and he's not changing who he is as a person. And I don't feel like anybody is asking him to change who he is as a person. He is philosophizing like he always does. He always coming to somebody like he knows more than they do. Honestly, I feel like Tisha has a point. Like, her and Marcel have been married for 15 years, and even though their marriage is not perfect, I mean, I wouldn't discount anything that they may or may not have to say. You didn't give them that chance. You just made a decision based on, and you know, so this goes all the way back to the Vegas trip when they're out there playing basketball. And to me, Marcel was just venting, and you know, Whitlow is a part-time doctor. I don't know, baseball camp person. Clearly, he's a philosopher. After being called out by Dr. Francis, now Whitlow wants to apologize to Marcel. Now he understands what it feels like to have somebody critiquing your marriage when they didn't ask you to. It's not even the same thing because you are at couples therapy retreat. So to me, if I go to a couples therapy retreat, chances are you're going to hear some things that you don't like um because nobody wants to maybe admit some of the flaws that they have in their relationship. Because once you start admitting the flaws, then if you're not fixing them, then it is what it is. If you're a woman in a relationship that's miserable, if you ain't planning on going nowhere, then it really doesn't matter what somebody has to say. And if you're a man in a relationship who has, I don't know, issues with communicating or whatever issues niggas always think. To me, I think men are always saying, I don't express my feelings and I'm not a communicator. And so if that's the issue, if you don't plan on doing nothing different, then you know, what's the point? But you do go to therapy in order to get advice and advised by an expert. You know, so I don't feel like he was necessarily coming at y'all, you know, crazy. He's doing what he was supposed to do. However, Marcel didn't ask you to do any of that stuff that you did. So it really isn't the same thing. You just was, you know, a self-appointed teacher. I don't know who, yeah, well, you're self-appointed because nobody asked you to be their teacher. Oh, sorry. So now, you know, like I said, he wants to apologize because now he knows what it feels like to have somebody judging your marriage when they don't know you. Marcel was like, how did it feel to be called fake? Because I told you it was fake a long time ago. And, you know, they laugh it off like, you know, it's you are fake. We all think that. I don't think we necessarily think they're fake people, but their persona that they're putting out on this fake perfect relationship that's only a year and some change. Really, y'all have a lot to learn still. I don't know why y'all acting like you don't. And I feel like I don't know how long they were together before that, but I think maneuvering and operating in this world as boyfriend and girlfriend or partners or whatever you call yourself is not the same thing as operating as husband and wife. The rules have changed, and so you're new to it. Kimmy and Maurice come in. They're wearing the t-shirts that Dr. Francis provided. I don't know what it said, reigniting, rebooting, something. Anyway, Marcel and Tisha had theirs on. Kimmy and Maurice had theirs on. Whitlow's didn't wear theirs because they don't buy into whatever bullshit that Dr. Francis has to say. He don't know them, and so ain't no point in them. You know, they're on a united front to defy Dr. Francis. Dr. Francis is so sweet. I don't understand why y'all are so angry at him because he's just so nice. Anyway, they flash back to the Whitlows, like mostly Lewis. Well, no, it's both of them. How they were back at I don't know where they were, a hotel room, or I think it was in Vegas. They were in a hotel room sitting around talking about, you know, Tisha and Marceau and how everyone is not on their level. Child, on their level. Anyway, Kimmy told the Whitlows that they're quick to give advice to everybody else, but they're not as open to receiving it. And that's true. He gets very defensive. He's like, I mean, and Kimmy was telling them like they're not even open to advice. And she basically said of all the years of education and experience that Dr. Francis has, you don't want to be open to any of it. Like, you know, and she was like, her and Maurice have paid to go to therapy and come out of it like, okay, well, maybe, you know, this is a different way of looking at things. I don't know how you wouldn't. Like I said, you're going to hear things that you're not going to like because it's going to make you uncomfortable. But the truth is the truth. And usually that's stuff you don't want to hear because you've been masking it or ignoring it or whatever people do, you know, when they be affected. Tiffany over here talking about I know I thought I was coming here to learn something. I know I was gonna be being attacked. Their attitude is just so ugh. Anyway, Whitlow said there's a difference between wisdom and book smart. And he's not nobody that just walk around reading books. He read books, but that's not what it is with him. You know, his knowledge, you know, has made him wise, and that's made him who he is today, or some mumbo jumbo that he says. He's always doing that. Like there's a difference between wisdom and book smart. I guess so. Wisdom will be probably somebody who has years of education and experience, and you know, him and his wife been married 40 some odd years, and just the fact that he's been on the planet probably twice as long as you have. Maybe not twice as long, but a substantial amount longer. Like wisdom is living life and learning. I feel like Dr. Francis probably, you know, ain't nobody said he's the wisest man on the planet, but stop trying to discredit him just because he called you out on your shit. Like, oh, Tiffany Lewis. He's starting to be more annoying than her. But I mean, they're alike, so maybe that's why they're together. They understand each other. Kimmy said, if you care about what we think, then you will change your response. Like, you know, and if you don't care about what we think, well, then keep doing what you're doing. Because right now it appears, you know, to them, like they're not open to anything anybody has to say. Even like with the couples, if you're in a situation with the couples, y'all should be able to take something away from each other and, you know, how to manage things. I don't know about her and Marcel and Maurice. They're already family and they're so intertwined. And Kimmy apparently has learned very much how to behave. I'm disappointed in Kimmy because she's letting Maurice turn her into a teacher. And it's not cute because Kimmy, you was trying to act like, you know, you were so different to Tisha, but it seems like you're falling into the same line of obedience that she's falling into. You just acting like you're not. Whitlow says if he's coming off that way, like he doesn't care, like just say something to him. And you know, because he doesn't want it to appear that way. But it seems like when somebody says something to you, then you get mad. So that doesn't make sense, Whitlow. Do you want to hear that you know, they sat there, all of them, and said pretty much, hey, you're being an asshole to Dr. Francis. It's really unnecessary. He's doing his job. That's what we're here for, to get therapy. And you guys are acting like assholes. Now, if you want to keep on acting like an asshole, then hell, keep on acting like an asshole. I think that's what it's going to be. They both have kind of a nasty disposition. It's off-putting. So Mel meets up with Miss Marlene. What is she wearing, child? What is this? I'm not gonna talk about nobody's mama. So, child, they sit down and discuss. You know, they're trying to mend their relationship. I don't know who forged this meeting. You know, I know it was Martell's idea, but you know, anyway, they meet up. They sit down. They talk about the text messages that went on between the two of them. Mel felt disrespected, so she blocked Marlene from social media. I get that. Like, if I'm not feeling somebody, if they're getting on my nerves or what have you, I don't want to keep seeing them on my timeline. You like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to see it. I don't care. It ain't that I hate you or anything like that. I just don't want to. I don't want to be reminded of stuff that's got me pissed off. And right now, Martell has her pissed off. So there's no point in, you know, keeping his mama who's talking shit on the timeline too. So the messages weren't even like that terrible. Mel texts Marlene, your son is a liar. You've upheld Martell for a very long time and not made him take responsibility. Since day one, been nothing but good to you and fair when it comes to you. Y'all enjoy and do what y'all do. Don't text me back because I'm blocking you too. I'm blocking you too. Okay, so child, my daughter in there acting like she don't know what I'm doing. Sending me TikToks and shit. Anyway, like I said, I think, I understand that. I understand why you want to have somebody like blocked. I don't want to see it. This is social media. And if you want to see the grandkids, Martell is going to bring them over there. So there's no reason, when you're divorced, there's no reason for her to be communicating with his mother, especially with things being so volatile between the two of them. There's, it's not going to be better because she's only going to take his side. Mel didn't like that Marlene called her lazy. And I mean, she knows Mel isn't lazy. Hi. This conversation that Mel had with Martell's mother explains a lot. Like she's been this way the whole time, but like it really came out this way in a way that made me look at her a little different. First of all, she just showed up in there dressed like in her freakum dress. I don't know where she thought she was going. Is she trying to compete with Mel? Because that's silly. I mean, she had her braids in, child. Where is Martell's mama going? I don't want to say nothing about this lady, but child Marlene stood by her comment. She was lazy. Um, she was spoiled. She felt like Mel was spoiled and lazy. What is her perspective? I don't understand. If Martell, your one son, was raised by his grandmother, does that make you lazy? I'm just saying. I don't know what kind of work you did or do or any of that, but if you wasn't actually raising your child, does that make you lazy? She said, I didn't say you didn't do anything, but you are a little lazy. And she said, but that's okay. Like, if I had all those kids, I'd probably be lazy too. What? Mel has 4 kids. Find me a mother on this planet with 4 children. And they're little. They're all like, my children have a span of years between each of them that they almost had time as an only child because, by the time the next one came, the last one was a teenager. I'm just saying. So if I had 4 little babies, and it's exhausting still having children that are very spread apart is still exhausting. I can't imagine having 4 of them running around, all those personalities, all that energy, ma, because that's what they do. Their kids are so cute and well behaved, so clearly they're putting in work, and I'm gonna give him credit for putting in work too. I didn't, not just her. They had that, understanding that they were raising their kids in a certain way. Every time they show their kids, they're nothing but adorable and pleasant. So, clearly she wasn't being that lady. So I want to know, like, what is a lazy mom of 4 kids if you don't do shit? Like, honestly, if you have 4 kids, you probably shouldn't. You probably should be able to stay at home and take care of your children, or he. Is that what he was doing while she was working? When we know he was doing other stuff, like not being like at work, like he was over there, like, well, the lady said she was over here eating the booty like the groceries. That's what the lady said. I don't know. I wasn't there, but that's what she said. She said he was just doing it like a month ago. He was over there still eating the booty like groceries. So, yeah. Was that on his list of things to do? I don't know that qualifies as, lazy. I mean, somebody had to be laying down. Anyway, I'm off subject. So Mel tried to make nice with her, she was pretty much like this lady, like at the end of the day, Mel has already said that's Martell's mother, so she doesn't expect any loyalty from her. She just was trying to like clear the air. So she said, well, you know what? Here's my phone. I'm gonna go ahead and unblock you. And Marlene is like, girl, you can go ahead and keep me blocked. I don't care nothing about that. I feel like Marlene doesn't really like Mel. There seemed like a lot of envy there. When you say stuff like, you were spoiled. What's wrong with having a husband spoil you? I think that's nice. I think as a wife, if your husband wants to spoil you, that seems sweet. I don't know if that's what Martell was doing. I'm just saying I think that's a nice thing. Um, like I said, I have 3 children. If I see them on bullshit, I'm gonna tell them they're on bullshit. Period. Point blank. I have said many times to my son, this is this, and this. And he didn't want to hear it. He had an attitude. And then a little while later, he'll come back and repeat the shit to me like he's the one that came up with the idea. So even if they don't want to hear it in that moment, and you can say things like there's nothing wrong with telling Martell he's dead wrong, but she doesn't think he's wrong because she's just like him. It's crazy. That's yeah. Does she see him as this person that she's creating in her head? Does she not watch the show? Does she see? She couldn't possibly. She could not possibly. It's almost like she admires him for being what? I don't know. Besides her child, I don't know. There's a weird admiration, but I think it's a lot of mothers out there like that. Like, my son's not married, but when he's in a relationship, I stay out of that. You know what I'm saying? I stay out of the drama. If he says something, you know, that doesn't make sense, in terms of being fair, I'm gonna tell him that too. Like, that's probably not fair. He ain't gonna want to hear it, and either he's gonna listen or not listen. But I don't see why I should be feeding into his bullshit. That is definitely not gonna make him a better person. But Miss Marlene, clearly is the same type of person as her son. And they both shop at stores where the clothes are too little. They have that in common too. Anyway, back at the retreat. They come outside. I guess they're gonna have, this little confessional moment, I guess you would call it. And so Whitlow is in the hot seat first. He doesn't want to be in the hot seat because he hates Dr. Francis. But let's get this over with. Dr. Francis ain't studying him one way or the other. So Dr. Francis points out that Tiffany was tearful when he brought up things that she's still carrying around right now. That makes a lot of sense. I think if you come to terms with things, or once you have come to terms with things, you could talk about them without being emotional necessarily. And when he brought those things up, about her parents and her divorce, and when he brought those things up to her, she got all emotional, mostly probably because she doesn't accept any, I don't want to say criticism, but conversation. Like, once she's decided what it is, like, she's not open to it. She decided, like her husband, it is what it is, and life goes on. And, they think those little phrases are, helping them through situations. That those phrases are not help. You don't even understand your feelings, because when he said it was a loss, she said she never looked at it like that, like a loss. Really, Tiffany? Maybe you learned something. Maybe if you wasn't being such an asshole, you would realize that, I did learn something. No, I don't want him attacking me, telling me about my life. But he tells her, if you're that emotional, then the wounds are still present. He asked her husband, how do you handle a loss? And what did this fool say? Whitlow, he said, well, a loss is never easy. And Francis is like, I didn't ask you that. I asked you, how do you handle a loss? And he finally broke down and he said he was angry and hurt and upset and isolated. And those things that he said, I could relate to, because I just recently lost someone very close to me. And I think hurt is definitely one of the emotions that you go through, and anger and isolation, because I didn't want to talk to nobody. I still kind of don't, I'm not there yet where I'm, really trying to talk about it. But grief is a process. So you can't look at it and say, well, it is what it is and life goes on and, it's tough, but, you got to figure it out. And hopefully, if you're lucky, you have someone to listen and, help you through those feelings. One thing I have learned is a lot of times you don't get to decide who that is. When you're grieving, you don't get to decide who it is that you can lean on to express those feelings to. Your feelings are not safe with everyone. So your feelings and your emotions, and not everyone knows how to handle it. So, when you're going through something like that, I think you have to realize that it could be some lady sitting on the bus next to you when you find yourself having a conversation um, that makes you feel better, and not, require the people around you, the people closest to you, to be there emotionally, because they may not necessarily know how to handle those emotions. And I think sometimes that can even add to your grief and your anger and all of that stuff. So I don't know where that just came from. I guess, like I said, I'm going through it myself in this moment. So being that I've been through it before, I think it does definitely help you to understand where to put your emotions. But isolation is definitely one of them. And Francis was like, the human finally appeared and the philosopher went away. Like, the human came through. That's what I'm talking about. When I asked you, how do you handle, you can say, how do you handle anger? And you say, it's never easy to handle anger. That's not what I said. Do you like punch a nigga, or do you breathe like my man Malcolm over on Canaan? Malcolm has this outward aggression. I had to switch shows because it's freaking stupid. Anyway, Whitlow turned into a human. They keep saying that Dr. Francis observed them. Even in that moment, like in their confessional, they were still so upset with him, and he is not judging them. He's observing. He's observing everyone. And I think we all do that. Like, have you ever been around a couple that they're friends, like they genuinely like each other, and you're like, these two like really like each other? That's not me judging them, that's observing them. Then you can be around couples where you're like, that's weird, I don't know what, that's one strange connection, and you just don't get it. That's not judging them necessarily. I think it's just observing, what you see. So especially when you're a therapist that's holding a retreat for couples, y'all are okay. Obnoxious. I tell you what. Tisha talks about her friend passing away. We kind of just talked about that. At the end of the day, the message is life is uncertain and you have to take time and out for your loved ones. Boy, that hit close to home. So Martell's at his mom's house, sitting at a desk covered in papers, pretending like he's doing work to sell this wine. I bet you what, I'll be damned if I buy a bottle of wine that's gonna cost me $40 a ship. Now I just bought something that's coming all the way from China, and I don't think the shipping might have been free. I don't know. It was like, I know it was $15. What am I paying another $40 for shipping, Martell? Anyway, he's pretending like he's like, oh my God, I have so many orders. I just have to get this stuff out because people are trying to buy it, rolling off the shelf so fast, and I just can't. I don't know how you're getting any business done with that trashy ass desk. Like, I don't know what's happening there. If your desk is any indication of how you handle your business, Martell, then understand then why you're in the situation that you're in. Now, his mother was upstairs helping the kids with their homework. Y'all, do y'all live together? Like, she's not, it doesn't seem like she's visiting. This is why she doesn't like Mel, because she wants Martell to be her husband. Like, not in the creepy way, but like having a man in the house and in. Like, she really, she want Melanie's life. Melanie, you got a lot of people that want your life, girl. Weird. It's being that you were married to Martell, I don't know what they're covering your life for. I mean, you got a lot of good going on, girl. I'm just saying. So the conversation moves on to Melanie. Of course the conversation moves on to Melanie, because Martell don't have no scenes where he's not talking about Melanie. So, he's talking about how, he went over to visit her at her performance and co-parenting, and how, really making it seem like he's putting in all this effort to be a good co-parent. But we did see his meltdown on the internet where he like, we saw that. We had that day of exhaustion with all the messages and lies that both of them were doing. So I guess the whole co-parenting, that's all out the window. Um, his mother said she met with Mel, and she was like, "Did you win?" And she's like, "Today." Now, are we acting like y'all don't live in the same house and that you didn't already know that she was gonna go over there and talk to Mel? Because it was your idea in the first place. I know last week when you was picking up the kids from school, you said you thought that Mel and your mother should have a sit down with, each other so they can clear the air. Now, are you wanting us to believe that you didn't orchestrate that or, production or however that shit's supposed to happen? I know Mel wasn't sitting over there thinking, how can I go meet up with Miss Marlene in her hoochie mama dress? That's not what she asked for. So, now we're pretending that you didn't know. Oh, that happened today. Well, how did it go? Well, look at Mel. Isn't that nice? She's, being agreeable and everything. And yeah, and, Marlene, yeah, I know. I told her, like, she was just hurt. And I understand that she's hurt. Both of y'all are so full of shit. It makes me want to. Anyway, Martell thinks that those text messages were the ultimate disrespect. Now, I just read the text messages and they were very not disrespectful. Pretty much, she was like, "Lady, I am not gonna have no drama with you. So to avoid the drama, I'm blocking everybody." So there. So if you want to reach me, email me the same way Marcel got to email me. So back at therapy now, Tiffany and Lewis are back in their room, and she tells him, like, you're a big, strong guy, and I think you're good at hiding your feelings. So now Tiffany is Dr. Francis, and she's analyzing Whitlow, but he doesn't have a problem with it because she's his wife. And, he cries, remembering that his dad was too busy to be around. And all he had to do was bring it up to him and let him know that that was an issue, and he was there for every game after that. Mm, is that parenting or is that just him showing up for the game? Was he married to his mother or not married to his mother? I ain't get all the details on that, but anyway, you and Tiffany, y'all know everything about everything, so I'm sure, like, y'all got this. Moving on. Now it's Tisha and Marcel's turn for therapy, and Marcel ain't no better than Whitlow because he sure think he could be slicker than the doctor. It's really entertaining watching him try to, he thinks he's just way better prepared for answering the questions than Whitlow. Marcel says him and Tisha's marriage were perfectly fine until the last 4 years with these outside influences, meaning us, the public that watch the show. We're the reason why their marriage is, in a shambles, because not their marriage is not in a shambles, but it's pressure. We're the reason why there's pressure and tension in their relationship, because we the people be starting shit out here in these streets. I'm just telling you, like, their perspective. We be starting stuff, and then people around them will bring it back to them, and it's causing too much stuff. Flashing over to Wanda asking him about having 20. Tisha asking him about 20 girlfriends, and Martell accusing him of having 20 girlfriends. If not for the people on the outside bringing all that shit to his happy home, they would never have no problem. They show Tisha talking about, I've never experienced cheating, and Mel, of course, being like, sure. Mel, maybe she haven't experienced it, because what you got to do is stick your head in the sand and pretend like you don't see it. That's what I'm talking about. Like Dr. Francis says, you play the game until the game gets exposed, and then you try to act like you're not playing the game. So that's how that works. So Tisha is playing the game, and at this point, still up until this day, she ain't never experienced nothing like that. And this is the man God gave her. Now, I am quoting her. I did not come up with these thoughts on my own. These are her thoughts. This is the man that God gave her. And so if it takes her being obedient and submissive and all of those things, well, then that's what she's supposed to do, because God is the one that sent him over there. Dr. Francis is like perplexed as hell. He's like, what? So Marcel is like, I don't make decisions unilaterally, lie, but we are like on this campaign, like how they tried to show in the beginning of the season, like part 1, where Tisha like owns everything, and her name is 41% or 51% of everything, and she's very much in charge. He does not make decisions without her consent or, you know, without discussing things with her, except for if he wants to go to a trip to Africa by himself without saying anything. Like that stuff like that he might do on his own, but you know, anyway. Like I said, now he thinks he's smarter than the doctor, and the doctor is like, have you forgot we did meet up before, so now you just like have done a 180, like your wife had to schedule a date with you because you didn't do date night. Hell, when you did do date night, you know, there wasn't no sexy time, not that we saw. We saw her prancing around in a cute little lingerie, and you going, excuse me, can you step aside? I have work to do. Dr. Francis said the biggest mistake people make is to argue the truth when the truth stands by itself. So then you can sit up here and say anything you want to say, but the truth is the truth and it will reveal itself. So somebody is bringing something to you about 20 girlfriends, either you got 20 girlfriends or you don't. Do you? Maybe you only got one other one besides your wife. 20 seems like a lot. Like if you a nigga that can juggle 20 women, then whew, you are exhausted, literally. Speaking of exhausted, literally, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted every time I see Maurice. He wears me the fuck out. He's sitting over here talking about having sex every day. That's stupid. That's not even satisfying. Nobody wants the hootie-coo to be squishy 24/7. You sound like a dumbass, and it can't be good. Like, Maurice, what do you think you're doing? I think he has a sex addiction problem. Isn't he the same one that was over here having sex with 6 different people in one day? Maurice, you are nasty. And you over here trying to beat this lady down to Kimmy. Why are you what? You won't even help her do nothing around the house. She's supposed to be your sex slave and your housekeeper. Sounds crazy, Maurice. I don't even like know why we're entertaining this. Kimmy. Well, and that's it. You know, looks like next week the Whitlows bail on therapy. They probably should have because they were not equipped to handle any of that. And what else happened, y'all? I don't know. Some oh, they're bringing up that whole thing with Melanika. Destiny over there being messy, carrying balls back to Martell. And, you know, listen, if Melanika hadn't showed up to the wine thing with her legs and hips and body, yaddy, yaddy. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back next week. Don't forget, Eve bit the apple so I can be free. I want you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.